welcome to Board Online, Board Offline. So obviously not in my studio where I normally be filming this, but I am out doing some training, and I did manage to finish editing together how to play War for Indagar. So I wanted to go ahead and get that out to you. Instead of waiting, it'd be like another week probably before I could actually publish it if I waited till I got home and settled and everything set back up. So we're going to go ahead and just do it this way. Now, before we do get down to the table to show you how to play War for Indagar, I do want to mention our sponsor, Board Game Co. This is a fantastic website where you can buy, sell, and trade board games. They have a great selection to choose from for buying. If you want to sell over there, they have a great system for selling, and they have a really great system for trading over there as well. They can link right into your Board Game Geek account. They see what games you want that they have and vice versa, and it is just a really great system, makes it easy to do. Go over to Board Game Co. and check them out. They also have a new YouTube channel that they just started up, so check that out as well. And yeah, now let's get down to the table, and I'm going to show you how to play War for Indagar. To win War for Indagar, the player must establish primacy over the contested Well of Power by earning primacy points and being the first to reach 10. If a player has 10 primacy points at the end of a game round, they win. However, since the player must have 10 at the end of a game round, this means their opponents also will have the opportunity to reach 10 points and also potentially knock them down below the 10-point threshold. If 2 or more players have 10 points at the end of a game round, the player earliest in the turn order wins the game. The game will also end after round 10, regardless of the player's scores. In that case, the winner is whoever has the most primacy points. In the case of a tie, the player earliest in the turn order is the winner. It's also possible a monster may complete its win condition listed on its script, in which case the monster wins, and we'll discuss all that a little bit later. Now let's discuss the various ways players can gain primacy points. The player gains 1 primacy point for each outpost they have on the board. The level of the outpost is irrelevant. If an outpost is ever captured or destroyed, the player will lose the associated primacy point. Each player gains 1 primacy point for sending the enemy commander into retreat. Players may spend 2 spirits at any time to gain 1 primacy point. A player gains 1 primacy point for each level 3 hero they have. And some strategic powers may also grant primacy points. Most primacy points are permanent and can't be lost. However, primacy points gained through having outposts on the board are in fact lost if the outpost is destroyed, as we've mentioned. It's also important to keep in mind that while it's technically possible to accrue more than 10 points, this makes no difference with regard to the end of the game. At the end of the game, a player with 11 points and a player with 10 points are both still considered to be tied at 10. The tiebreaker, as mentioned, is player turn order. War for Indagar comes with 4 unique factions. Each faction is a federated or national power of the land of Indagar, and players assume the roles of those factions as they vie for control of the Well of Power. Factions each provide unique playstyles through their strategy boards and heroes. Here's an example of one hero from each of the 4 factions. Each faction is also themed with a color, green, purple, black, and red, which will be reflected on their hero cards, minis, strategy boards, and outposts. To begin the setup, players should first construct the game board. The game board shape and size is based on the number of players, as found on page 4 of the rulebook. Each player will have a number of tiles known as their starting area, seen here and here. This consists of 1 gold tile, 1 lumber, 1 ore, and 3 grasslands. The grasslands are marked with the letter D in the rulebook and are the deployment tiles for the player's heroes. The Well of Power is found in the center of the board, and the number of monsters equal to the number of players are found in various locations on the map as well. All other tiles, including the monster tiles, are face down. The composition of the face down tiles is based on a chart at the bottom of page 4. Gather the indicated types of tiles and shuffle them face down, then use them to create the face down play area. There are many different types of event tiles in the game. Players will randomly draw from the event tiles to gather the indicated number. If the player needs help identifying all the different types of tiles, page 11 and 12 of the rulebook covers these in detail. One thing to note in the rulebook is that Mud, seen here, and Mystic Glade, seen here, are considered event tiles despite not being labeled as such in the rulebook. Once the board is constructed, players should each select a starting area and seat themselves near that area for easy access. Each player then rolls 3 dice, and the player with the highest total takes the initiative token. If there's a tie, the tied players re-roll until there isn't. Starting with the player who has the initiative token and proceeding clockwise, each player selects a faction and retrieves the outpost of that faction's color. The player with the initiative token then selects a strategy board for their faction, and then the other players do so as well in turn order. The base game comes with only 1 strategy board per faction. Then players take turns in player order, selecting 1 hero of their faction at a time until each player has 3 heroes. The base game comes with 3 heroes for each faction. Next, in player order, players will select one of their heroes to be their commander. That hero is placed in the commander spot on the strategy board, which is the gold box with the gold star. The commander then receives a level up token with the shield side up. Make sure that is placed in the first level up slot. This will give the hero +1 permanent defend for the rest of the game. The other 2 heroes may be placed in either space. Next, in player order, each player chooses a monster and places its token on an empty monster space. That player also takes the monster card and keeps it nearby for reference. Players now place their heroes on their deployment tiles. Each player starts the game with 3 gold, 2 lumber, and 2 ore, which is placed in their stockpile space. And finally, one rule which was left out of the rulebook but has since been confirmed by the designers is that players should place a level 2 outpost on their gold mine. And that's the setup. Players now will proceed with the first game round and continue until someone wins or the game ends after round 10. Now is a good time to touch on what the rulebook refers to as the 1 in a million rule. It's technically possible, though exceedingly rare, in a 4-player setup for a player to have 4 impassable mountains completely walling off their starting area. In the event this ever occurs, the player first is required to take a photo and post it to social media. No cheating, they'll know. The other players in the game are then required to buy that player a drink of their choice. Finally, players either agree to replace a currently face-down tile with the last revealed mountain or agree to restart the game. Gameplay is divided into game rounds, which themselves are divided into player turns. During a player turn, a player may activate a single hero of their choice and then perform any actions specific to that hero. When the player is done with that hero, play passes to the next player in clockwise order, and this continues until all players have activated all of their heroes, at which point the game round ends. It is possible that a player may find themselves with no heroes to activate while other players still have heroes available. In that case, the player with no heroes will be forced to skip their turn. The round score tracker serves 3 purposes. It tracks what game round the players are currently on. It tracks how many Primacy Points each player has. And it's used to identify what level the monsters are currently at. Each game round, the round counter will be placed in the slot above the currently corresponding round number. Players will also use a faction token from their faction, as you see here, to track how many Primacy Points they have. A game round will always begin with the player who has the initiative token and then proceed clockwise. When a game round starts, players will resolve the following steps. First, players move the round counter to the next game round, or if it's the first round, they placed the round counter on number 1. Next, players remove 1 damage from each monster. If a monster is in retreat with this side of their token face up, the token is flipped to the normal side. If a monster is in retreat with this side of the token face up, the monster is redeployed. Next, in player order, each player will declare a strategy tree on their strategy board. Remove the activation tokens from their heroes from the previous round. Any heroes that are damaged have 1 damage removed. And any hero that was in retreat is redeployed. At this point, player turns will commence. When a game round ends, the player will do the following if applicable. Resolve any end-of-game round effects or mechanics, determine if anyone has won the game, gain resources from any outposts, place a spirit on the Well of Power, and pass the initiative token to the next player in clockwise order. Your heroes are powerful warriors and serve their factions as champions. Each is represented by its own miniature. Each hero has a unique name, background, and story, and a corresponding hero card which describes the hero and shows their starting stats and special abilities. Let's take a closer look at the hero card. This hero's name is Zaked, the River Savior. When a hero is activated, the activation token is placed here. If a hero has not been activated, the hero is considered to be available. Whatever hero is currently being activated by a player is known as the active hero. These symbols represent the hero's movement, attack, defend, and durability. Movement is how many tiles a hero can move in one activation. Attack is the number of dice the hero rolls when attacking. Defend, as you might have guessed, is the number of dice they roll when defending. And durability is the amount of damage a hero can withstand before retreating. Any special rules for the hero will be covered here, in this case, charge. We'll discuss each of the special rules in more detail later in this video. A hero's basic ability is available to them at all times. The command ability is available only if the hero is chosen as the player's commander. Any experience earned is tracked in these boxes. Each hero has special abilities that become available to them as they level up. Each ability is only available once a level up token is placed in the slot next to it. When a hero receives damage, the damage tokens are placed here. And finally, many abilities will require resources to be spent, which is reflected here. When the player activates an available hero, that hero can move and also perform an action. The hero can do these in any order. For instance, it's allowed to move, perform an action, and then continue the movement. The movement stat on a hero card indicates the number of tiles that hero can move. Each tile the hero moves onto counts as a single movement. A tile must be considered open for a hero to move onto it in the first place. So what exactly does it mean that a tile is open? Well, a hero cannot move onto a tile that is currently occupied by another hero's outpost, or a impassable tile such as a mountain. However, heroes can move onto any open revealed tile, as well as any unrevealed tile. Moving onto an unrevealed tile will reveal it, which could have positive or negative consequences. Once the tile is revealed, immediately resolve any associated effects. In this case, it's just a plain tile, so there are no effects. If, however, the tile turns out to be impassable, the hero must remain on the tile that they started from. However, that movement is still used up in the process. The same would be true if the hero moved onto a tile that was occupied by a monster. If the hero was ever forced onto a tile, such as by being attacked, and it was the only available tile, and that tile turned out to be impassable, then the hero would immediately go into retreat. Certain tiles, such as mud, affect how the hero moves as well. If a hero doesn't want to risk moving on to an unrevealed tile, they may instead scout any adjacent unrevealed tile by spending one movement. To scout, the player announces which tile they are going to scout, and then peeks at the tile without showing anyone else. The player then chooses to either reveal the tile or place it back face down. If the player does reveal the tile, the hero still does not move onto it, since they were simply scouting, unless, of course, they spend an additional movement. The movement spent on scouting is used just to view the tile, not for actually moving onto it. During its activation, a hero can use exactly one of the following actions. They may attack an enemy hero, monster, or outpost. A hero can build an outpost, or if there's an outpost already on their space, they may upgrade it. If a hero is on the Well of Power and the Well of Power currently has spirits on it, the player may use an action to claim all spirits currently on the Well of Power. These will be placed in their stockpile. When a player has completed the turn of their activated hero, that player's turn is complete. Play then proceeds to the next player in play order. If no players have any more available heroes, then the game round ends. Each hero has a base durability stat, as previously mentioned, listed on their card. As you can see here, Zaked has 6 durability. Once a hero has sustained damage equal to or greater than that durability, they immediately enter retreat. When a hero enters retreat, their mini is removed from the board and placed on their hero card. The player then removes all damage and experience points from the hero card. If the hero had gained any tokens, those are removed as well. However, level up tokens are never removed, and neither is the bonus provided to commanders. At the beginning of a game round, any heroes currently in retreat are redeployed onto an unoccupied deployment tile of that player's starting area. However, if all of the player's deployment tiles are occupied, as you see here, then they are not able to redeploy that hero. Whenever a hero gains experience, it's tracked on this track on the top right section of the card. When a hero reaches the level 1, they level up for the first time. Each time a hero gains a level, place a level up token onto the corresponding slot on their card. The player chooses which side of the token to place. This side provides a +1 bonus to defend, and this side provides a +1 bonus to attack. This unlocks the corresponding special ability. At this point, the player would also remove all experience to be counting to the next level. A hero may gain experience in several different ways. Each time a hero successfully attacks or defends, they gain 1 experience point. Each time a hero sends an enemy hero into retreat or a monster into retreat, they gain 3 experience points, as long as this was done through attacking. And to be clear, this means 3 total experience points, not 3 in addition to 1 experience point for a successful attack. And it's also possible that some abilities or rules may cause a hero to gain experience points or even entire levels. When a hero has gained enough experience points to level up, they must immediately do so. If a hero has gained more experience than is required to level up, any excess experience is carried over to the next level. Any excess experience after level 3 is pointless and may be discarded. Most heroes have 1 or more special rules on their hero card, which grants that hero some additional abilities. Let's take a moment to discuss those special rules. A hero with charge may opt to move 1 additional tile during its activation. So Zaked normally can move 2, but with charge, he can now move 1 additional tile. However, the hero may only do this if they also execute an attack action at the end of that additional movement. And they must only do this after they have used all other available movement. The only way for a hero to move further after a charge is with a charge through, which we'll discuss during the combat section of this video. Speed allows the hero to be unaffected by mud. At the beginning of a game round, a hero with tough removes 2 damage instead of just 1. A hero with the Fortifier special ability gains 1 experience point for building an outpost. That hero also gains 1 experience point for upgrading the outpost. And when upgrading the outpost to level 3, the hero gains 2 experience points. Heroes with the Burn Not Build ability are only allowed to destroy outposts. They cannot build, upgrade, or capture outposts. Outposts are fortifications which players build on top of resource tiles and serve to both defend the tile as well as generate resources. Outposts have 3 levels, level 1, 2, and 3. As we've previously discussed, during a player's turn, the active hero may use an action to build a new outpost. Or if an outpost already exists, they can upgrade the existing outpost to the next level. The cost for taking this action is listed here on this reference card. Whether the hero is building or upgrading, they must be occupying the tile on which this is occurring. At the end of each game round, outposts generate resources, and the amount of resources they generate is based on their level. Level 1 generates 1 resource, level 2 generates 2 resources, and 3, as you may have guessed, generates 3 resources. There are a few exceptions, but under most circumstances, outposts are only ever built on top of resource tiles. Also keep in mind the number of outposts a player may build is limited by the number actually included in the game. So a player can have built at one time 6 level 1s, 4 level 2s, and 2 level 3s. Similar to heroes, outposts have both a durability and a defend stat. However, unlike heroes, any damage dealt to an outpost less than its durability is discarded at the end of each player's turn, so there's no need to track the damage on an outpost. In the event an outpost takes damage greater than or equal to its durability, it is immediately downgraded. If the outpost being attacked was already level 1, then it would simply be destroyed. Keep in mind, this means that the owner of that outpost will have lost 1 primacy point. However, once an outpost has been downgraded, it is safe from any damage for the remainder of that player's current turn. When an outpost is downgraded, the attacking player may opt to capture it, however, following a successful attack. If a hero is occupying the outpost will always receive damage before the hero does. But remember that once an outpost has been downgraded, it can no longer receive damage for that player's turn, and so at that point the hero would begin taking damage. The 3 resources in the game are wood, ore, and gold, and these 3 resources are used to power abilities and to build and upgrade outposts during the game. Any resources gained are always kept in the stockpile. Anytime the game requires a player to spend resources, they simply take these resources out of the stockpile and return them to the supply. Also, at any time, players may swap 3 of any one resource to gain one other type of resource. Spirits can be spent to gain several different effects during the game. 1 spirit may be spent to gain 3 of any other resource. 1 spirit may be spent to roll 2 additional attack or defend dice. 1 spirit may be spent to remove 3 damage or to ignore 3 damage. And 2 spirits may be spent to immediately gain 1 primacy point. Now let's discuss abilities for a little bit. The term abilities describes the collection of hero abilities found on the hero card as well as in the strategy trees. In general, abilities have the following rules. A player's abilities may only be used during their player turn unless they are designated as always available. An always available ability has this upward pointing triangle. Most abilities have an associated resource cost which must be paid at the time of their use. For instance, Axe of the Two Rivers cost 1 wood. Abilities which do not have an associated cost simply cost nothing, such as Aranthar's basic ability. No ability can be used more than once during a single player's turn. However, they may be used multiple times during a game round since a player's turn occurs multiple times during a round. The only strategy tree abilities which may be used are the ones of the currently chosen strategy. Abilities can be used at any time during a player's turn, with one exception during attacking, which we'll cover during the combat portion of this video. And if there is ever a question regarding the timing of abilities, they will be considered to have come into effect in the order that the players use them. As I already mentioned, the upward pointing arrow is considered an always available ability. These abilities can be used at any time during any player's turn. However, the rule that they can only be used once per player turn is still in effect. The downward pointing triangle seen here is a passive ability. Passive abilities are considered to always be in use even during another player's turn and never have an associated cost. Most often, attacking happens when a hero uses an attack action during the player turn in which it has been activated. However, these same rules apply to monsters when they attack as well as other scenarios where attacks may happen. When attacking, heroes may only target enemy heroes and outposts and monsters. However, the target of the attack must be on an adjacent tile, so in this case, the only possible target would be this outpost. Attacks are considered to have officially begun once the attacker rolls their attack dice, which can be important for the timing of certain abilities. To resolve an attack, first the attacking player rolls the dice. If the attacking player wishes to use any abilities to grant extra dice, rerolls, minimum damage, or bonus damage, they must do so before the defending player rolls their dice. But these abilities may be used after the attacking player has rolled theirs. Also, a hero receives +1 attack for every friendly hero that is also adjacent to the target of the attack. This is called the flanking bonus. So in this case, 1 additional die would be rolled. Next, the defending player rolls their dice. A level 1 outpost has 1 defense. If the target of the attack is a hero occupying an outpost, their defense stats are added together. So in this case, there would be 2 total defense. Now compare the total rolled by each player. In this case, 7 to 5. If the attacker's total is higher than the defender's, then the defender receives the difference in damage. If the defender is occupying an outpost, as you see here, then the outpost would absorb the damage first, up to, of course, the amount necessary to downgrade or destroy the outpost, and then any remaining damage would be dealt to the hero. Some abilities, such as Aranthar's Axe of Two Rivers, allow heroes to do a minimum amount of damage. This means that after both the attacker and the defender have rolled their dice, the defender would still receive the minimum damage even if their roll is sufficient to receive less. Other abilities, such as this basic ability for Aranthar, allows heroes to ignore damage. This means an amount of damage they are about to receive will be completely ignored up to the indicated amount. Even abilities which deal a minimum damage may be ignored with these abilities. So we've mentioned successful attacks a few times. An attack is considered successful under these following circumstances. If an outpost is downgraded by an attack, destroyed by an attack, or captured, the attack is successful. If a hero receives at least 2 damage, the attack is considered successful. And if an enemy hero is sent into retreat, the attack is successful. If a player were to manage to achieve more than one of these stipulations in a single attack, it is still only considered a single success. And remember, a successful attack will grant the attacking hero 1 experience point. And if the hero goes into retreat, the attacking hero instead receives 3 experience points. A defense is considered successful if the defending hero receives 0 damage or if an outpost is not downgraded. If a player achieves both of these stipulations, it is still considered just a single successful defense. A successful defense grants the player +1 experience point. Here are a few more key points about outposts during an attack. If an outpost is downgraded, but not destroyed during an attack, the attacking hero may choose to capture or destroy this outpost. To capture an outpost, the hero must charge through and then replace that outpost with one of their own. To destroy the outpost, the player removes the outpost from the board and then receives a number of resources equal to the level of the outpost destroyed and of the type the outpost would have produced. If a hero ever takes 2 or more damage during an attack, it must fall back. The controlling player immediately moves the hero into an adjacent open tile. If the controlling player chooses to remove the hero into an adjacent unrevealed tile, such as this one, they immediately reveal the tile. If the hero falls back into an unrevealed tile and that tile is revealed to be not an open tile, the hero is immediately sent into retreat. However, it's important to remember that this hero is not considered to have been sent into retreat by the attack, and so the attacker still only gains 1 experience point. After a hero falls back or goes into retreat, the attacking hero may now choose to charge through. This is additional movement, and so it does not count towards the attacking hero's total movement for the turn. A charge through is also restricted by rules that prevent or obstruct movement, such as mud. To execute the charge through, the attacking player simply moves their hero into the tile formerly occupied by the hero that fell back or is in retreat. This, of course, is assuming that the tile is open. Once any fallback and charge through have been resolved, the attack is finally considered officially over. Some abilities, such as Inner Fire, deal damage to heroes or outposts outside of the regular attack rules, and other abilities directly destroy, upgrade, or downgrade outposts. These abilities may not be used during an attack. Each strategy board represents a set of fighting strategies unique to the player's chosen faction. On the strategy board, the player will find each strategy board has 3 strategy trees on it. The powers within the strategy trees are called strategic powers, each of which contains 3 abilities. When a strategy tree is in play, the player receives the strategic powers for the entire game round. Furthermore, any abilities on a strategy tree that have been unlocked are also available for the player to use during the turn or during the opponent's turn if the ability is always available. Keep in mind, the player may only ever use the strategic power and abilities of the in-play strategy tree. So how does a strategy tree become in play? As we've mentioned, at the start of each game round, in player order, all players declare the strategy tree they wish to put in play for the remainder of the game round using the chosen strategy token. That tree is now in play. Each round, players may either declare a different strategy tree to put in play, or they may designate the same one for multiple game rounds in a row. Every time a strategy tree is put into play, a player may choose to unlock one ability on the chosen tree. To do this, the player puts a strategy token on the slot next to the ability they wish to unlock. The player must choose which side of the token to place face up. If the player chooses this side, then the ability has been upgraded. Check the ability for the number with the asterisk next to it. In this case, place up to a level 1 outpost. You see the 1 has an asterisk. That number is now increased by 1. So Ranger Escort would now read, place up to a level 2 outpost on a non-resource tile occupied by the active hero. If instead the player uses this side of the token, this ability is now 1 resource cheaper. Once unlocked, the ability is unlocked for the remainder of the game and may be used anytime that strategy tree is chosen. Monsters are controlled by the game and roam the board, sowing chaos for the players. All monsters follow certain common rules, but also their own specific script. These are the 4 primary monsters, and these 3 monsters may appear as a result of certain event tiles. Monsters count as enemy heroes for all game purposes. When in doubt, monsters follow almost all the same rules and mechanics that heroes do. Like heroes, each primary monster has a card which lists and describes its basic stats. They have attack, defend, movement, and durability stats. The monster card also contains the monster's script, as well as any additional abilities the monster acquires as it levels up. The 3 monsters which appear by way of event tiles do not have their own cards, and their stats are listed on page 17 of the rulebook. A primary monster always begins on one of the monster home tiles located in the indicated areas in the setup. The very first round of player turns, the monster will not activate, so each player will have exactly 1 hero action to prepare for the coming onslaught. Primary monsters take their turns in player order just like players. However, it should be noted that the game round ends after the final hero has been activated, which means the monster following that player will not activate that turn. During a monster's turn, it will execute its script. The script should be read and resolved by the player controlling the monster. A monster turn always resolves as follows. Determine the target, move, and then use an action. Occasionally, certain game effects will allow a player to activate more times than normal. It's important to note that a monster will never take more than 3 turns during a single game round. If after reading the monster's script the player is unable to determine a single target, then the player currently last in turn order will pick from amongst the targets. In certain rare cases, a monster may not be able to choose a target due to impassable or occupied tiles. In these cases, the monster will determine its closest target the same as before, except it will now include tiles that are occupied in an effort to fight its way out. Impassable tiles still will not be counted. In extremely rare cases, a monster may be blocked completely by impassable terrain, such as its home being surrounded by mountains. If this occurs, the players should consider themselves lucky, as the monster's turn will be skipped for the remainder of the game. Once a monster's target is determined, it must move as far as it can by the shortest viable route in an effort to reach its target. If there is a tie for the shortest path, the monster will always take the leftmost path relative to the direction of the target. Monsters are bound by the same rules as the players in that they may not move onto impassable or occupied tiles. Unrevealed tiles a monster moves onto are not revealed and stay face down, as you see here. Certain monsters target tiles rather than heroes or outposts. If the target is a tile, the monster will attempt to move onto that tile. If the target is an outpost or a hero, the monster will attempt to move adjacent to it. Upon reaching its target, the monster will move no further. Even though monsters don't reveal tiles, once tiles are revealed, monsters will be affected by them just like heroes for the most part. However, effects such as Maelstrom are ignored by the monsters. In addition, they do not receive any damage from poison swamps, though they are still affected by the mud in a poison swamp. Just like heroes, monsters will only take one action per turn. Unlike heroes, monsters will only take their action after they have finished moving. Monsters attack in the same way heroes do and follow the same rules, but there are a few important notes. Monsters will never capture outposts and always will choose to destroy them instead. If able, a monster will always charge through. Also, the rules recommend when it comes time for monsters to roll dice, someone other than the defending player should roll them. Monsters won't typically attack something they cannot realistically harm. That's where the juicy target rule comes into play. This rule means a monster will not attack a hero whose defense stat is higher than the monster's attack stat. When determining if a target is juicy, be sure to include the defense stat of the outpost the hero is occupying, and upgrades do count. If, after moving towards its target, a monster happens to stop moving adjacent to a hero, outpost, or another monster, the monster will consume its action to attack that hero, outpost, or monster. This is called an attack of opportunity and follows these rules. A monster will only perform one attack of opportunity per turn. It may only perform this attack if it has an available action. It will always choose to use its action on its target if possible, so an attack of opportunity only occurs if the monster has nothing better to do with its action. The target must be a juicy target, and if there are multiple possible targets of the attack of opportunity, the player acting last in turn order chooses. Players can attack monsters just like outposts and other heroes. If a monster falls back as a result of a successful attack, the player last in player order decides which tile the monster will fall back to. If a monster ever receives damage equal to or greater than its durability, it enters retreat just like a hero. To help players remember how long a monster has been out of play, it will first be placed with this blue-gray side face up. At the start of the next round, it is flipped to its regular color side. Any monster that is on the regular color side at the beginning of a round is redeployed to its home tile. However, if its home tile happens to be occupied, it is instead placed on the closest, leftmost available tile. Also, these three non-primary monsters never redeploy, and once they are sent into retreat, they are permanently defeated for the game. As the game progresses, primary monsters get more powerful, which is where these symbols come into play. The current level of the monster is determined by the current number of demon heads for that game round. For example, in rounds 3, 4, and 5, the monster will go up one level, right here. In rounds 6, 7, and 8, level 2, and rounds 9 and 10, level 3. Non-primary monsters do not level up. Non-primary monsters have a vastly reduced script, which can be found here on page 19 of the rulebook. And finally, certain monsters will target and attempt to destroy resource tiles. If a resource tile is destroyed, place one of these tokens on it to indicate it can no longer be used. So there you go. That's everything you need to know to play War for Indagar. I hope you enjoyed this video. Now, there are solo rules that I did not touch on. It's just, I believe, about 2 pages to add everything else that you need for the solo rules. So if you do want to play solo, be sure to check those out. Also, I have a solo gameplay video that I'll link to here in this video, so you can be sure to check that out as well. And until next time, if you're bored online, bored offline.